Coming up tonight on VCU InSight.
We'll take a look at how Virginia's two candidates are currently polling in their key districts as we approach Election Day.
Our democracy is at stake, and it's at stake right here in Virginia.
Former President Barack Obama slammed the politics of division while stumping for the Democratic candidate for governor, Ralph Northam.
And Amber Wishy goes one-on-one with Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam about the rising cost of tuition.
We really want to make sure that everybody can live the American dream and afford college.
All this and more.
VCU InSight starts right now.
From the Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University, named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic. This is VCU InSight.
Good evening and welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Malik Bowden.
And I'm Carly Ford. Thanks for joining us. A big election year for Virginia. It's a tight race between Republican candidate Ed Gillespie and Democratic candidate Ralph Northam.
To win this election, support is needed from Richmond, Northern Virginia, and Hampton Roads. To give us a closer look at the election, we turn to InSight's own Amber Wishy and Jordan Howard.
Thanks, Malik. On the Republican side, Ed Gillespie has never held public office. However, he served as a former chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia and the Republican National Committee. He also served as a counselor to President George W. Bush.
For the Democrats, Ralph Northam is the current Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. He also served as a state senator. According to Real Clear Politics, Northam's support stems from Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, and Richmond.
That's right, and according to the same source, Gillespie has support coming from Southwest Virginia and counties surrounding Richmond. As of right now, according to Real Clear Politics, Northam is leading with 3.3 points.
Gillespie campaigned in Northern Virginia with Vice President Mike Pence. Northam campaigned in Richmond with former President Barack Obama. As of air date, we have not heard back from Gillespie's campaign team, but we'll be featuring an interview with Northam and Libertarian candidate Cliff Hyra later in the show. But for now, let's send it back to the desk.
Former President Barack Obama, along with other Richmond officials, endorsed Ralph Northam at a rally here in Richmond. More than 6,000 people attended the event. VCU InSight's Gabrielle Randolph has more.
To have somebody step up who you can trust and who just wants to do right by the people of Virginia, that's worth something.
Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam brought former President Barack Obama on this stage in support of his campaign for the gubernatorial race right here in Virginia. This is Obama's first time campaigning since a new president was elected. Virginia's leaders, along with Obama, had a lot to say about the divisive rhetoric in today's politics and Northam's opponent, who Obama never mentioned by name.
Ralph's opponent doesn't really think very highly of Virginians.
Ed Gillespie is cut from the same cloth that Donald Trump is.
Despite who we have in the White House right now, I want to make it crystal clear. Virginia is going to lead us to a brighter new future in the United States of America.
A huge message from the rally was for everyone to get involved and vote.
Being a college student now, I feel like I can make an even bigger change than before.
Northam emphasizes the need for diversity in the community.
It shouldn't matter your sexual orientation. It shouldn't matter the color of your skin. It shouldn't matter the country that you come from or the religion that you practice. We welcome people to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Our lights are on. Our doors are open. That's what Virginia's about.
With VCU InSight, I'm Gabrielle Randolph.
Since Obama endorsed Northam at the rally, his numbers have gone up. However, the race still remains very close. Those registered can go out and vote on November 7th for your preferred candidate.
61.5% of VCU students voted in the last election. One of the main concerns amongst college voters in this election is the cost of tuition. VCU InSight Amber Wishy met with Ralph Northam following his stop at a Canvas kickoff event in Richmond to discuss this important issue.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with gubernatorial candidate Dr. Ralph Northam. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me with you today. It's a pleasure being with you.
So I'm going to be asking you a few questions about college tuition. I saw on your website you talked about tuition freezes not being the way to go with tuition. So if a tuition freeze won't work, what do you propose to keep tuition affordable?
Well, you know, Pam and I have two children. Wes is 29 and Aubrey's 26, and they both went through colleges here in Virginia, public colleges, and so I'm very sensitive to the cost of higher education, and we really want to make sure that everybody can live the American dream and afford college. So a couple of things I would say. We have proposed a guarantee, a tuition guarantee, so that when you start, the tuition will be the same for 4 years, and I think that's very helpful. We've also talked about legislation that will help students navigate through the student loan process. My opponent actually has lobbied for lenders, making it more difficult, more expensive for students. And finally, at the state level, we need to make sure to fund our public schools and education in Virginia. You know, each year, Richmond has given less to schools like VCU, University of Virginia, William & Mary, to the point where some of them now receive less than 10% of their budget from the state. And the schools have no options other than to take out-of-state students or more out-of-state students, and diversity is a good thing, but we need to take care of those that, you know, have lived and worked in Virginia, and they also have to raise the tuition. So it has to be a priority in Virginia to make sure that we fund our public colleges and universities, and so that's something in the next 4 years I'll make sure that we do.
Okay, and if elected governor, how will you guarantee level tuition?
Yes, well, we can do that by, again, making sure that it's a priority, making sure that we fund our colleges and universities, and as I said earlier, we want to make sure that when someone starts in their freshman year, that when they go through a 4-year program, the tuition will remain the same each year, and so they'll at least know when they start how much the tuition will be, and then as far as if they need to take loans or whatever, they can calculate that, and it can be consistent over 4 years.
And do you think that level tuition will attract not only in-state students, but out-of-state students as well?
Absolutely, and you know, in addition to our public colleges and universities, we also have a TAG program, a tuition assistant grant for private schools in Virginia as well. So there are a lot of different options, and we're very proud. You know, Virginia is the #1 state in the country now for higher education, and we just need to continue to fund it to make sure that we stay #1.
And so students attend college for better opportunities, but often graduate with high debt. Do you mind talking about what would you do to prevent the debt?
Well, again, we need to make sure that everybody in Virginia can live the American dream. And we actually have a proposal for community colleges, and a lot of people, before they go to a 4-year program, will actually start with our community colleges. We have great certification programs, apprenticeships, and so we have a program called G3. It stands for Get Skilled, Get a Job, and Give Back. And so this allows individuals to go to community college for up to 2 years without incurring any debt, with the understanding that once they become certified, they'll give back a year to public service with pay or in a high demand area. So it can be done, we just have to make it a priority. And they're actually, not that we need to be like other states, but there are other states that have programs. They have scholarship programs that, for example, if an in-state student goes to a public college or university and maintains a B or better average, their tuition is paid for. So we want to make sure that everybody has opportunity to go to college or a university, make sure that they have the opportunity to live the American dream.
Okay, and if we continue to have a Republican-controlled General Assembly, how do you plan on passing these or making sure that all of these go through?
Yes. You know, one of the things that's important to know is that we do what we call the Virginia way. That means that we bring people to the table. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle they're from. We may agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we do what's in the best interest of Virginia. That's my track record. I've been working in Richmond in public service for 10 years now. I passed the smoking ban in restaurants. And if you think about it, there's a tremendous amount of influence from the tobacco industry, but it took someone that had leadership skills that could bring people from both sides of the table to get both Democrats and Republicans to understand that there are ill effects of cigarettes, and I was able to get that passed in a bipartisan way in 2009. Governor Kane at that time signed it into law. So that's what we call the Virginia way. And you know, a lot of these issues are really not partisan, and certainly having people that can be able to go to our colleges and universities and make it affordable, that's something that everybody should agree on.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Northam. Now back to the desk.
Up next, learn how you can save a life in the midst of Virginia's opioid epidemic.
We've never been very good at sitting still. Maybe that's why we built our campus in the middle of a city. Why we put our classrooms on riverbanks, in Fortune 500 companies, even on stage. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. What matters most is how you make it real.
Did you know the Henrico Police Department is looking to add people with different backgrounds to their force? Here's Jasmine Stith with more.
According to Henrico Police, an overwhelming amount of Henrico officers are white. In hopes to build a force that better reflects the community it serves, the department held a diversity in law enforcement orientation. Senior officer Elise Alter says putting their efforts out to the community is where becoming more diverse starts.
We go to historically black colleges, we've gone to Pride Fest, we go to K-PASA, we go out to our local churches, any local organizations within Henrico.
The gap between law enforcement and communities is fear, according to the Central Virginia chapter president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, Morris Robertson. Robertson says the community benefits from a diverse police department.
We need to have individuals that can understand the cultures. We need to have individuals that can speak the languages so that we can better communicate, we can better provide services to our communities of diversity.
Potential applicants filled the room speaking one-on-one with the current officers at the orientation, learning about the field, application process, and the training academy.
If we leave an event making contact with one person who maybe is thinking about applying, then we consider our job done.
The department is currently hiring for police officers, 911 dispatchers, and for their modified academy. There's no college degree or special skills required. Once accepted, the trainers will teach recruits everything they need to know. For VCU InSight, Jasmine Stith.
If you're interested in applying and couldn't make the orientation, visit henrico.us/services/jobs.
President Trump called the opioid crisis in the U.S. a health emergency. On the same day of Trump's announcement, several localities in the Richmond area held a joint summit on the opioid crisis. Bradford Ambrose is live in Richmond with more. Bradford?
The city of Richmond, along with Henrico, Chesterfield, and Hanover counties, joined forces to show how their communities are being affected by the opioid crisis, and they want you to be prepared to save a life. According to the Virginia Department of Health, the city of Richmond, along with Henrico, Chesterfield, and Hanover counties, saw a combined 51 deaths because of opioid overdoses in 2010. That number skyrocketed to 189 in 2016. At the end of the Revive RVA Summit, participants had the opportunity to learn how to use naloxone, the medicine used to reverse opioid overdoses. Arbirdan Shalanki works with kids and says he's noticed a growing trend.
I came for the purpose of understanding the extent of the problems and how to be part of the solution.
If you suspect someone is overdosing, check for their responsiveness. Do a sternal rub. If the person doesn't respond, get the naloxone and administer into the nasal cavity. Next, you have to call 911. If you have to leave, put the victim in the recovery position. Naloxone doesn't take effect right away, so while the drug is going into their system, you want to help them breathe. If the person comes to, they may relapse because the drug only lasts for 25 minutes. Laura Toddy is the executive director of Henrico Mental Health and Developmental Services. She says naloxone is an important first step in saving someone's life.
This naloxone has given people the opportunity to have medication to be able to save somebody's life.
Thanks to the Virginia Department of Health, everyone who attended the training went home with their own bottle of naloxone. Live in Richmond, Bradford Ambrose, VCU InSight.
To find out when one of these free training programs is coming to your area, visit dbhds.virginia.gov. Go under the Individuals and Family tab and click Substance Abuse Services.
For every 100 years, Boy Scouts of America has been committed to providing programs to male youth, and now, after unanimous vote by the National Executive Board of the Boy Scouts of America, girls will be allowed to join. Trustworthiness, loyalty, and bravery are what the Boy Scouts of America's website label as a few of their main values. Brad Neesham, Scout Executive for the Heart of Virginia Council, says that the new changes to the Boy Scouts will all allow girls under the age of 11 to join the Cub Scouts in 2018, and that there will also be a program for girls over 11. Following these programs, girls will be able to complete the rank of an Eagle Scout.
Our response locally has been very positive. We do have some people who have expressed some concerns. There are some who don't agree with this decision.
For more information on the Boy Scouts of America and the programs that are offered, you can visit their website at scouting.org.
Vehicle larcenies have become all too common in some residents in Hanover County, and the Hanover County Sheriff's Office has come up with a preventive social media campaign. In response to recent vehicle larcenies, Hanover County Sheriff's Officer began the 9 p.m. routine, which encourages residents to lock their cars and home at night. Officers have gotten creative with the social media campaign, using humor and videos to connect with the community. Hanover County's Public Information Officer, Sergeant James Cooper, says this campaign speaks volume about the power of social media and community involvement.
Anything that we can do from a preventative standpoint to get the word out to our community, that's what we're going to do. We're going to use social media to do that.
For more information, visit the Hanover County Sheriff's Facebook page or their website at hanoversheriff.com.
Up next, Libertarian candidate for governor Cliff Hyra joins Ciera Brown to talk about college tuition and student debt.
This year's governor's race, for the third time in Virginia's history, will feature a Libertarian candidate on the ballot. InSight Ciera Brown sits down with Cliff Hyra, this year's third-party candidate. Ciera.
Cliff Hyra represents the Libertarian Party. By definition, Libertarians oppose strong federal government interference, and he is one of your options on this year's gubernatorial ballot. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I've become aware that you are a man who values education. You have an undergrad degree in aerospace engineering from Virginia Tech and a law degree from George Mason. But many of us students, especially here at VCU, are concerned about rising tuition and our student debt once we get out. So how would you as governor plan on combating that?
The rising student loan debt burden that's faced by new graduates is a big concern here in Virginia. And it's something I think that could be addressed at the federal level by moving towards more of an income-based repayment system, because the key is that you want to make sure that students are receiving a good return for the investment that they're making in their education. So I think there is something that Virginia could do to ensure that all high school students are aware of what costs they can expect, what repayment burden after they get out of school, and also what kind of an income they can expect based on the major that they're going into, so that they can make the right decision about what school to attend, what major to go into, whether they should go into more of a four-year university or technical degree. And at the same time, I think that we could help that by reforming the tax system here in Virginia, because we have an income tax system that's very burdensome for people at low levels of income. Our top tax rate starting at only $17,000 of income each year, which is, for somebody who's just starting out in their career, they're not making that much money, to be facing such a high tax burden is a real problem. So that's why I would exempt the first $60,000 of household income from the state income tax. I don't think anyone who's just starting out in a new job, new career, should be facing any kind of a state tax burden. I would save the average graduate about $1,000 a year that they could put towards repaying their student loan.
So do you think that there will be any issue with people saying, if it's income based, I pay more than you do? Do you think that would be an issue?
I think that people feel that there's a fairness there, that if you're making an investment in your education and you're receiving a high return, then maybe you should pay back at a little bit higher rate than somebody who is not receiving such a good return on their investment. So that's the key. If the government is subsidizing loans for education, you want to give them an incentive to ensure that all students are receiving a good return on that money.
So you're here at VCU, obviously. How do you plan on getting young voters?
Well, I think we've done very well here in the past. Rob Sarvert 4 years ago got about 20% of the vote here in this area. So it's definitely somewhere where we're looking for support, and we think we have the right policies to achieve that. I'm the only candidate who has a vision for Virginia that's both innovative and inclusive. The other candidates don't seem to understand the importance of that, but I think that young people do. You need the tax and regulatory reform, especially to support our small businesses, which are revitalizing the downtown, get rid of some of the food and drink regulations that are burdening them when I talk to young entrepreneurial business owners in Richmond. But at the same time, we need to be inclusive. We need to appreciate the contributions that immigrants are making to our Commonwealth and not engage in harmful or divisive rhetoric, because many of our best workers and our strongest businesses, we're at risk of losing them if we don't respect people of different backgrounds and different beliefs. And I'm the only candidate who's proposing legalization of marijuana, which is a critical issue here in Virginia. We're spending billions of dollars each year on our criminal justice system. It's arresting tens of thousands of Virginians for drug crimes, mostly for marijuana, which is legal in most other states. And it's not doing us any good. We're taking people away from their homes, their families, their jobs, putting them in prison, giving them a criminal record, making it very difficult for them to reintegrate into society. So that's money that's not only wasted, it's actually counterproductive, and it could be a huge improvement to the Commonwealth if we redirected that money into some of the other areas such as education, tax and regulatory reform, where change is desperately needed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That's all we have time for. Now let's take it back to the desk.
Ram fans, I hope you're ready because Havoc is back. The men's basketball team is hosting their season opener tonight. The Rams will be taking on their neighboring school, the Virginia Union Panthers, here at the Siegel Center. This is their first game with new head coach Mike Rhodes. This is not Rhodes' first time coaching the Rams. He was an assistant coach and associate head coach under Shaka Smart from 2009 through 2014. After the team making it to the 2011 Final Four, Rhodes was named one of the top 10 assistant coaches under 40 in the country by ESPN.com. Good luck tonight, Rams. VCU's next game will be here at home against Grambling, November 10th.
A Richmond museum received some major assistance in efforts to honor those who will forever be etched in America's history books. The Virginia War Memorial, located on the 700 block of South Belvedere Street, is starting an expansion project worth a whopping $26 million. On average, the memorial receives 60,000 to 70,000 visitors a year, mostly consisting of school field trips and local history enthusiasts. Director Clay Montcastle is eager for the city to see what the memorial will have to offer once renovations are complete.
We'll also include an extended admin facility, new programming space, which will include a 350-seat lecture hall, as well as a distance education center, which will allow our educational programs to have much more outreach throughout the state.
The expansions are expected to be finished by the summer of 2019. Until then, the Virginia War Memorial will still operate under normal protocol.
Smittys Cat Rescue Shelter has been rescuing surrendered and homeless cats since 2008. According to its website, and its home is home to over 30 cats, almost reaching the shelter's full capacity. After suffering a recent tragedy, the shelter is still focusing on expanding. Caitlin Moody has more on how the shelter is dealing with its recent loss.
That when I walked in that door, July 3rd, he jumped from a table into my arms and greeted me.
Lynn Layton is describing the beginning of her friendship with Chester, one of her beloved cats here at Smittys Cat Rescue off Jefferson Davis Highway. Although Chester was a cat, Layton says Chester was the heart and soul of Smittys Shelter and describes her emotions as she watched her friend die on their security camera on the morning of October 11th.
As the light came on and he was seizing, and there was a blood pattern, a spray blood pattern in our driveway.
Although the necropsy stated that Chester died from blunt force trauma, Layton says she knows he was shot. Since then, she has added more lighting around the property to protect the outside cats, such as this one. As for Chester, he is buried on the property under his favorite peach tree, right where he was born. Layton has been the director since 2016 and says although the shelter is not located in the best area, it has never suffered anything like this. The shelter plans on raising donations for a proper headstone for Chester that will be taken to their new location that is planned to open up in the next year. As Smittys Shelter plans on relocating, they say the memory of Chester will live on. For VCU InSight, I'm Caitlin Moody.
If you would like to learn more about how you can help Smittys Cat Rescue or donate, visit their website at smittyscatrescueshelter.com. And that does it for this edition of VCU InSight.
Make sure to check out our website at insight.vcu.edu.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight. Contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
And if you missed our show or would like to watch it again, you can find us on YouTube at VCU InSight. Thanks for watching. I'm Carly Ford.
And I'm Malik Bowden. We'll see you next time.